Okay, the next project we decided to do on this 2017 Flying Cloud 20-foot Airstream is to put the bed lift in so we can get to the storage underneath there. We're tired of getting on our belly down below there. So I've watched some other videos that show that you can, take this hamper out. And, you could, there's screws down there. It's a separate item. The problem is there's screws over here that are into the wall. And I don't have a screwdriver that can let me do that. It's just not thin enough. So I can't get that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the board over here with my circular saw, really shallow. I have to be really careful because there's a cross bar right here. There's a 2-inch, like a 3/4 by 2-inch wide brace that comes across there all the way out to here. So I have to be really careful with that. The rest of this will just come up. This side doesn't have that problem. This hamper, as you know, if you have a 20-footer, goes all the way to the floor. So what I was going to do is try to lift this up so that when I cut it, it's a little bit away from the brace over there. So I'm going to take out all the screws and see what I end up with here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I've got these wedges in here to kind of take that piece of plywood up just enough. I'm going to set my saw so I don't cut through any more than the 5/16 thickness that this plywood is here. So once I do that, then I'm going to cut it as best I can. But these will just give me a little extra space, a little extra leeway so I don't come through and cut that brace. Okay, I was able to get it cut on the side. It's not super pretty, but I'll fix that up. I'll clean it up a little bit. So now I've got this piece out, and I can work on figuring out how to get the hinges on and giving it a little bit of space to miss on both sides here when we lift it up. Or actually not the left side, just the right side, since it kind of butts up against this hamper. Yeah, so that was probably the hardest part of this whole thing, was getting that thing cut over there, because I couldn't get the whole thing out with the hamper on that side and those screws on the left side over here that you just can't reach unless you have some really perfect screwdriver. Okay, so there's the piece that came out. This is the side that I cut. Like I said, it's not perfect, but I need to take some extra off over here anyway to make it go up and down easily. So I'll just straighten that up and clean it up. And I'll take a little bit off this other side as well. Yep, so that's where we're at. Okay, now that we have everything kind of out of here and cleaned up, I'm going to take a cue from one of the other videos I saw. I've got it linked down below. And I'm going to move this subwoofer, which was sitting sideways and all the way out to here. I'm going to stand it up on its edge and attach it here. And that way you can actually get to whatever controls you need to on the back, which is a really smart idea they had. So yeah, I'm going to follow their lead and do the same. Okay, so I've got it cut out, trimmed. A little rough on that side, but that doesn't matter. The bed will cover that up. Gave it a little bit of space for the hinge in the back. Gave it some space over here so it doesn't rub. Yeah, so I just need to get the hinge, and that'll be kind of what I get for access. And yeah, I'll get the hinge, and I have the bed lift kit coming, and we'll install those next. Okay, so I've got my hinges installed. Work pretty well, but I do have one issue over here. So that side of the bed platform used to be supported by being connected to the other piece that I cut. Now it's not, it doesn't really have support over there, so it flexes pretty good if I put any weight over there. I'm going to look at trying to put a support underneath it so that it won't flex so much. We'll see how that turns out. Okay, so I got a little 1x2 piece here and braced it across, a few screws here and a couple screws into these two guys. And now I've got this, when it comes down, it's got some support over there, so that should be just fine. Okay, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this part of the install of this bed lift. So there's some rough guidelines on how to do this, but it ends up being kind of a exercise in, you know, slow adjustments to see exactly where you need to be. So this particular measurement here actually works out pretty good, and I got that off of one of the videos that I have linked below. It's 4.5 inches from the hinge out, and you just run it on the center line for the bottom post. That seems to work pretty good. And then what I did is I took a line straight up from the inside of this, straight up the bed platform, and mounted my block up against that. So my blocks don't hit the sides. But this particular bracket takes a little bit of adjusting. It took me about 4 tries to get this one in the right spot. And then I recreated it on this side, and it wasn't the same, so I had to put even more space on this side. So that's sort of the tricky part. This particular center line and this point for the center line of this block is pretty good. It's, again, off of the video that I linked down below. It's 9 inches from the top, from here to this point, to this line, to the center line of the block. And that seems to work okay, but I'm going to reattach this one, and I think I'm going to be done now that I've adjusted it one more time. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a finesse work here for this final spot for the upper bracket to get it to work just right. Okay, I've got them installed, and they work pretty good. A little tight with the bed on it. It should go down a lot easier. It's a lot of force with the two. There's one little problem though with this install kit. They give you these wood screws here to hold the blocks on, but those guys are just a little too long and they pop up out the other side. So I'm going to replace those with a shorter 1-inch screw, and then I'm going to use some you know, bolts, nut and bolts to hold it down, as opposed to having those sharp things come through. Okay, once I do that, I'm going to put the mattress on. Everything should be good. And then the other thing that they've done, which is something to consider, is they give you also these 2-inch bolts that are supposed to go, you know, they go through here, way too big for that, and they also go through the top down through the bracket, and they're way too big for that as well. So they're going to go, you know, they go down from the top through here, and they're too big for that. So just something to keep in mind. I went and bought these 1.5-inch bolts that'll use the same nut, and they should be good for those top brackets. And then I've got these much smaller 1-inch bolts to go down on the bottom brackets. So just keep that in mind when you're getting ready to put everything together. Okay, so here we go. So it's not the prettiest. Got all these bolts in now. They're still coming out pretty good on this side, 1.5 inches, so maybe I could have gotten a little bit shorter. They look pretty good. The other bolts I had down here are just the right size, 1-inch bolts, so those are all good. Yeah, I'm going to hook everything up now and then put the mattress on and see how it works. Alright, now that I have the mattress on, goes down nice and easy, and it comes up nice and easy. Not as high as it goes there. There we go. There, that's it. So yeah, there we go. Can get to all that stuff much easier.